Hello Internet, Taliesin here, and welcome to a weekly reset special report. Not a standard weekly reset, and not a replacement weekly reset. The usual episode will still be coming this weekend, full of all the 8.3 news, and new Azeroth stuff, and visions, and models, and armor sets, and mounts, and secret ships. So many secret ships, and oh yeah, Death Knight Pandaren, just like you'd expect. But as I'm sure you know, there is some other, much less game-related news flying around at the moment that I think it's very important that we address. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Taliesin, why don't you talk about the super serious controversial news in the standard weekly reset? Why separate them out at all? Are you trying to hide this video, Taliesin? Are you trying to bury this news, Tali? And the answer is no, because, well, for one, I'd like 1 million people to watch this video because I'd make more money, but also because this actually genuinely is a super serious issue that deserves proper thought out discussion. And I've just got a feeling that when I'm done here, I'm not really going to be in the mood to be looking at 8.3 armor sets, even though, seriously, and you're not going to believe this, but Mail didn't get completely dicked this tier. It's happy times. And even with all of that said, I know lots of you will be annoyed with this video because you only come here for the jokey, sarcastic fun times, and to you I say, don't worry, because we have put some fun stuff in this video too. Just click on the timestamp, which is the first thing in the description below, and you will skip all of this serious stuff and get straight to that. Okay? And if you clicked on that timestamp, then you've probably just realised that it brings you straight back here because psych, there is no fun stuff. Honestly guys, this is serious. Now I've already made my initial reactions to the news on stream and on our Twitter, and I will give my fully considered opinion and what it means for this channel in good time. But for the sake of this video making any sense, let's look at the straight, hard facts of the incident in question. After winning a crucial match at the Blizzard-run Hearthstone Grand Masters tournament in Tapai, 21-year-old pro player Blitzchung, and yes, he has a real name, but he is Blitzchung in this video, appeared for an interview on Blizzard's official stream for the event, wearing a mask and goggles, and after prompting from the two hosts, exclaimed in Mandarin, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time," a rallying cry for the current protests in Hong Kong. The interview quickly ended and went to a commercial break, after which Blizzard put out a statement saying that as well as cutting their working relationship with the two casters, they were expelling Blitzchung from competition and banning him for 12 months, as well as refusing him any earnings from Grandmasters Season 2, which according to the player is around $10,000. Blizzard quote page 12, section 6.1 of their competition rules, which state that participants may not engage in any act that, in Blizzard's sole discretion, brings you into public disrepute, offends a portion or group of the public, or otherwise damages Blizzard's image. They say in their statement that while we stand by one's right to express individual thoughts and opinions, players and other participants that elect to participate in our esports competitions must abide by the official competition rules. And at this stage, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh shit, participants that elect to participate, that is some really bad sentence structure right there, and you're right, it is. But anyway, that was just the English language statement. The Chinese version on Blizzard's Weibo read, "We are very angered and disappointed at what happened at the event and do not condone it in any way. We also highly object to the spreading of personal political beliefs in this manner. We will always respect and defend the pride of our country." Although it should be mentioned here that there have long been rumours of Weibo, yes, I'm pronouncing it the German way now, being able to edit the posts of foreign companies that they don't think are pro-China enough. I'm not saying that's what happened here at all, I'm just doing my fair and balanced reporter thing. The aftermath of all of this has been that many players are really pissed off, claiming that Blizzard are stifling free speech and maybe more importantly, betraying Western values by caving to the demands of the Chinese government in censoring language about Hong Kong. Heads of state putting pressure on corporations to censor their employees when they make a political statement in their workplace being something we really don't agree with over here. This story is now all over mainstream media. People are cancelling their Battle.net accounts in droves, with the boycott Blizzard hashtag everywhere. Blizzard employees have also been protesting at the company's campus, and the Winnie the Pooh and HK May memes are frankly magnifique. At the time of recording, Blizzard have issued no backtrack or further clarification or justification or defense of their decision, and basically everyone hates Blizzard right now. Almost as much as when they announced a Diablo game on mobile when what we really wanted was a Diablo game on PC. Before we move on, one untruth about this situation that has been flying around, which I don't think is massively massively important, but which for the sake of proper balance is worth pointing out. The idea that the two casters who were let go by Blizz were surprised by Blitzchung's comments and attempted to hide when they realised what he was saying, and that they were collateral sacked just for being there. This seems like it isn't actually true. Most translations of the event suggest that they were encouraging Blitzchung to say the words so that they could finish the interview, and on the video, they duck behind the desk before he says anything at all.
我们就结束，我们就什么也都不要聊了。然后你随时可以开始，头先低下来。
光复香港，时代革命。
导播可以切回来了。
好，导播谢谢。
谢谢。
Which suggests their complicity in the event is the most correct interpretation. And that, thank goodness, is that. And a question I know many of you are wondering, because it's the one I keep getting asked. What do I, personally, think of this situation? Well, the most important thing that I can express here, I think, the thing that overrides anything else, is my view on Hong Kong. Now, those of you who follow us on Twitter and Twitch will know I have no fear of getting political about, well, basically anything really, if I feel it's important enough. I hold pretty strong beliefs, and I occasionally get out and go to protests for stuff like freedom for Hong Kong. Some of that is because I'm a very socially minded guy, some of it is because I live in London, so it's pretty easy for me to make the protests because they're just around the corner, and a walk in the sun with a few thousand people is always a nice way to spend a Saturday afternoon, to be fair, even if you do have to carry a placard. So first and foremost, I am totally in favour of Blitzchung's cause, and I applaud him for his bravery on taking a massive professional hit for voicing it, because that shit is brave. I don't know anything else about this guy, so, you know, sorry if he's rude to old ladies or whatever, but so far, this makes Blitzchung a genuine, bona fide legend in my book. And I feel the same about anyone willing to take a stand for their beliefs in the face of massive political pressure trying to shut them down. Or at least, I should say, I do for political causes that I agree with. And here's where I have to admit a bias. I have friends in Hong Kong who aren't from there, but are there right now. So although I can't pretend to know the important details and specifics, I get the general gist. And the Hong Kong protesters' cause is something I overall completely agree with, because I think democracy is really good. Which is why I feel so bad that when my country, the United Kingdom, ruled over Hong Kong until 1997, it didn't allow universal suffrage. Yeah, sorry about those Western values we didn't let you have there, guys. But come on, you couldn't expect us to let you decide for yourselves. You might have voted for something we didn't like. But the great thing about the democracy protests in Hong Kong is that it's a cause that those on the left and the right can all agree on, because everyone likes democracy and no one likes China. Awesome. Hashtag boycott Blizz, because clearly they are throwing democracy under the bus for that sweet, sweet Chinese dollar. Which leads us to the second most important question. What do you think of Blizzard in this situation, Tali? Well, I'm glad you asked. I think they are wrong, and in the wrong. I'm extremely disappointed in the way the company has handled this and the punishment that they have dished out to everyone, but especially to Blitzchung. I think Blizzard, they done a bad, and I'm really pissed off. But that doesn't mean that I think they were wrong to punish Blitzchung at all. And I'm going to ask you to bear with me here, because I'm going to explain this from a couple of different angles. Like Blitzchung, I have my own personal platforms that I make content for, namely this YouTube channel, our Twitch stream, and Twitter. But we are also of a size now where every now and then Blizzard might give us an interview or invite us to a summit. In fact, because Evitel is so clever and attractive, we are just the kind of people that might one day get invited to host something for them, like those two casters hosted the official Hearthstone coverage. And if I am totally 100% honest, the way I would approach these two different platforms would be quite different. Because here, I'll say what I want. Like, I think Activision Blizzard are a big soulless corporation who generally suck just as much as every other soulless multinational corporation. I think it's bad when a head of state puts political pressure on private corporations to sack people that peacefully protest their politics in their workplace. I think President Xi Jinping looks a bit like Winnie the Pooh. And also, liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time. I'm happy to say that on stream and on Twitter and here, and have done, and have never, nor would ever expect to suffer any consequences from Blizzard for doing so. Would I be as comfortable saying those things if I were hosting an official Blizzard event? Probably not. Not because those things are suddenly less important to me, but because there, I've accepted a job which isn't on my own platform, and I alter my behaviour accordingly. And if I didn't alter my behaviour, if I did say Blizz suck in an official broadcast or advocate revolution, well, I'd feel like an absolute baller, and I would be an absolute baller, but obviously I wouldn't expect to keep that job, or even really any job. Look, there's a reason I had to create my own job, okay? I've been sacked from a lot of jobs. Likewise, if I were organising an official tournament, I don't want every interview with every winner to be a de facto platform for them to air their politics, even though I care about politics and even if I agree with them. And here's the problem. If you allow Blitzchung to use the platform that way with no punishment, that's awesome because I totally sympathise with his cause, but it also means you have to let everyone use the platform that way. And it's not going to be long before someone who we don't all agree with gets to use it, like someone really anti-Trump, or pro-Trump, or pro-China, or someone whose genuinely held political belief is that some races have a genetically lower IQ than others. And suddenly, I can't remember the last time anyone ever talked about Hearthstone on this official Hearthstone channel, because it's basically just a political platform for any old shit that anyone wants to say. And that's okay though, because otherwise we're oppressing free speech. And if you take that view, Blizzard aren't wrong to specifically ban politics from their Hearthstone Grandmasters live streams, and it doesn't matter how vague their contract is in enforcing that. In fact, you could go as far as to say that these two casters acted pretty badly in all of this. Encouraging Blitz to say something they knew would cause shit is just a really unprofessional thing to do. And heroes though they may well be to the people of Hong Kong and their sympathisers, like me, it can't be a surprise to anyone that their employers don't want to work with them anymore. On the other hand, you could rightly say that Blizzard banning the player for making a stand is itself a political act, and you are absolutely right. But not punishing the player would also be a political act because, and I know lots of people don't want to hear this, but it's true, this proves it, pretty much everything that happens is a political act, and the only people that get to pretend otherwise are those privileged enough to not have politics impact them at all. And it's tough for me to balance these two reasonable takes. In the end, I come down in agreement with Brian Kibler and his much more eloquent response to all of this. I do believe Blizzard are in the wrong, unquestionably, not because they took action against inappropriate use of their platform to spread a political message, but in the punishments handed out. Banning a top player for a year and confiscating his season's winnings is clearly massively disproportionate to the offence, so disproportionate that it can only be appeasement to the Chinese market. And you know, I don't think J. Allen Brack saw this interview and went, "Oh shit boys, ban that mofo and take all his money. Xi is coming over later with his new list of mobile titles he demands we make and I don't want him in a bad mood." I think this is a couple of dudes in Blizzard Taiwan who had a major panic when they saw this and self-censored, and that doesn't make it any better, obviously, but it does leave the way open for Blizz to make this better if they want, to reduce the ban almost entirely and give Blitzchung his money back like they should. I wouldn't be upset if someone I disagreed with used an official Blizzard stream to make a political point and got reprimanded with a reasonable punishment, and I wouldn't disagree with that happening to someone whose political opinion I agree with, like here. But the punishment was not reasonable, and it's pretty obvious why. At the moment, the whole world is angry with Blizzard, and I agree with them. I agree with the world on this one, Blizz. And I agree with your own employees, who are also angry at your silence and inaction, and are making as much of a stand as they can under your country's really bad employment laws. And here's another question. Now that we've established we all care about this, what can we do to change it? How can we stop heads of state putting pressure on employers to sack sons of bitches who use their platform to peacefully protest and therefore betray our strongly held Westerner dedication to free speech? Well, we can #boycott Blizzard, of course. That will hurt Blizzard for sure. I mean, not as much as pulling out of Chinese market, obviously, but it would sting like a really nasty paper cut, like a bad sting. And that feels good. The sad truth is that for most part, boycotts hardly ever actually work. They don't change anything. So if you actually want to stop corporations throwing away the values you care about to appease a regime you don't like, it's going to help about as much as not using plastic straws is going to help global warming. Because you are right to be angry about this. You are right to feel betrayed about this. I want to encourage you to be angry about this, especially if this is the first time you've heard of Hong Kong or been angry at a corporation. Please be angry at Blizzard, but don't stop there. Be angry at Apple for banning the Hong Kong protest map from its store when China told them them to. Oh, and for handing over iCloud data and encryption keys to China just because they quite fancied them. Oh, and for basically helping China round up Uyghurs and put them in actual concentration camps using iOS exploits. Or Vans for censoring a pro-HK design in a shoe competition. Or Disney and ESPN, who literally forbid mention of Chinese politics. Or Reddit, who took $150 million from China and coincidentally banned threads talking about how ESPN banned mention of Chinese politics. Or Marvel, who turned a Tibetan monk into a bald white woman because, yeah, China doesn't like it when people talk about Tibet, don't know if you knew. Or Cathay Pacific, who fire employees for Facebook posts supporting Hong Kong. Or Gap, who apologise to China for not showing Taiwan as part of China on t-shirts they sell in Canada, and also being really overpriced and normie, which isn't totally relevant but is totally true. Or Audi, who did pretty much the same thing. Or TikTok, who censor videos that mention Tiananmen Square, Tibetan independence, or Falun Gong. Or L'Oreal, who cancelled a Hong Kong artist concert because of her pro-democracy activism. Or so many other companies that it would be impossible to boycott them all, or even most. And by the way, for the love of Nazoth, adopt a full-time VPN, okay? Because in order to conduct business in China, network operators must store everything users do and comply with pretty much all access requests to data on any and all applications without impunity. Even companies in the US and Europe have to comply with this, even if they don't tell you. Because these are all companies who will never represent free speech or American values, because they never stood for those things. Because the problem, my friends, isn't Blizzard or Disney or even Apple, it's late-stage neoliberal global capitalism. If it's not China they're appeasing, it's someone else like Saudi Arabia. They just don't give a shit, and there's not really much anyone apart from government can do about it. But our governments have been allowing and encouraging our industries to sell out to China for the last 30 years so that a bunch of Western millionaires could become billionaires. Oh, and on the subject of government, next time a head of state puts pressure on a private corporation to sack some sons of bitches that use their platform to protest, I guess you know which side you're on now, right? Which leads us to the last important question, maybe the most important of all. What am I going to do about it? As a WoW-focused creator with a profile in the community, what responsibility am I going to take? Am I going to boycott Blizzard? Am I going to decline to attend BlizzCon? Despite the fact that boycotts don't really work, I like to feel good about myself, and I'll be honest, until last night, I really wasn't sure what I was going to do. As I hope that little rant just proved, if you care about this, you live in a world where it's impossible not to support companies who partake in it. And that's not your fault. Okay? It's okay to want to improve society, but also have to partake in society. We are all hypocrites, but that doesn't mean that the desire to make things better is wrong. YouTubers as different as me and Heel vs Babyface are both total hypocrites to sit here telling you how bad big corporations' rabid pursuit of the Chinese dollar is when we happily get paid by Google, who, yeah, do the same thing, but much worse. Now, that doesn't mean that we are wrong to criticize Blizzard at all. It doesn't make that criticism valueless or incorrect, but it does make any grandstanding self-righteousness feel a little bit silly, really, doesn't it? Likewise, you are not wrong to criticize Blizz, even if you give your money to companies who play fast and loose with human rights to appease China every day. It's almost impossible not to, but please be aware of that. And despite that truth, I'll admit, I was all ready to come on here and tell you that I wouldn't be going to BlizzCon. It would have made me feel sad, but righteous. It would have made me look super cool to a bunch of people that hate me, and that's what the ending of this video was going to be. But last night, Evie and I went to dinner with a Blizzard employee who happens to be in town, and we talked about this, obviously, but we also talked about our shared love of the game and what that means. Because the reason I love WoW has never been because of its powerful Eastern market strategy, even though that has been in place since day one of the game, longer than I've been playing. It's because it's an awesome fantasy world created in an engine that I really enjoy, with characters and stories and environments and music and doodads made by passionate and absurdly talented people who are just as pissed off by this as you and me. It's the community around the game that enjoy and create so much art and writing and sociability and joy. The tragedy of free market capitalism is that it turns everything good into something really brutal and growth driven, which is why I hate it. But for me at least, WoW still has that heart that I fell in love with. And you know, if there's one part of Blizzard that deserves to be believed in and fought for, It's that. And if we abandon that, then only bad corporate stuff is left. So, after much heartfelt, serious thought and deliberation, we've decided that if Blizzard will still let us through the doors after this video, and I actually wouldn't blame them if they don't, then we are going to BlizzCon. We will see our friends and people we don't know but who for some unknown reason want to meet us. We will report from there and hopefully record a weekly reset in front of a live audience. This is not the first time that I've expressed my distaste at Activision Blizzard on this channel, and I dare say it won't be the last. It would appear that I have very different values to every multinational corporation on Earth, who knew. But on this occasion, I'll be damned if some trigger-happy stooge in the Taiwan office is going to bury the amazing creative work from the devs and community that inspired me to start this channel in the first place. This is how I'm choosing to show my resistance, by helping to preserve the good, whilst at the same time taking money from Google and Amazon and PayPal because the world sucks. So that's where I stand. I hope you can understand where I'm coming from, and if we disagree on this in any way, please don't think that I'm attacking your position. All of this is just my stance that I've come to, and it's likely we're all going to end up in a different place on this. I myself might end up feeling differently down the line, but I thought this was important to get out there. As a great orc once said, we don't get to hide. So thank you for joining us and indulging me. Thanks to our patrons who make all our work possible, and we will see you very soon for the actual weekly reset, which by the way has Death Knight pandas in it, I don't know if I mentioned. From me, Taliesin, for Blitzchung, Team 2 and the WoW community, I stand. Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our time. Cheerio. Seriously, get a VPN, cheerio.